Fox News reports Florida State University shooting suspect who is Phoenix Ickner. The suspect who opened fire at Florida State University, FSU in Tallahassee, Florida on Thursday, killing 2 and injuring 6 others, was identified by law enforcement officials as the 20-year-old son of a sheriff's deputy. Leon County Sheriff Walter McNeil identified Phoenix Ickner as the shooter, saying, "It's not a surprise to us that he had access to weapons." Shouldn't a sheriff's deputy know how to secure their weapons? They continue. His mother, Jessica Ickner, is a sheriff's deputy with the Leon County Sheriff's Office. She's been with the office for over 18 years, and McNeil said she has done a tremendous job in her position. During the course of her career, authorities said she served as a school resource officer. McNeil said Phoenix Ickner used his mother's handgun in the shooting at FSU. So apparently, this young man, he's been. There's questions surrounding whether or not this is a politically motivated, or whether there was any politics involved in this, or whether this was just another young kid that was somehow struggling with modern society, which seems to be almost the norm nowadays. So what do you guys think? Do you guys believe that this has got something broader than just a kid that has decided that he's had enough of the day-to-day living in the U.S.?
Yeah, I think everyone automatically jumped on this idea that he's an anti-Trump protester, that he was part of this socialist student union club. I think the quote they're pulling from this article kind of proves that he's not part of them. If you read the line before it, it said, "Once the protesters reached the integration statue, Florida State University Police Department officers stood on guard and groups of onlookers began to form." And then they bring in his quote, "These people are usually pretty entertaining, usually not for good reasons." I think it's a little too late. He's already going to be inaugurated on January 20th, and there's not really much you can do unless you outright revolt, and I don't think anyone wants that. It seems to me that he's not an anti-Trumper. It doesn't really seem like he has an opinion on him, really.
Libby, what do you got?
I am not sure either. I don't know that we have necessarily a political motivation at this point. Mm-hmm. We have seen a lot of politically motivated violence of late. There was Luigi Mangione, obviously, but even since then, there's been the Tesla violence. There was this kid in Wisconsin who killed his parents as part of a plot to overthrow Trump and the government, and then secretly head off to Ukraine. And this is just some of it,
Was he actually in touch with anyone in Ukraine?
According to the FBI documents, it looks like he was. There was someone he was in touch with who had a Ukrainian phone number, and he was talking to this person over text about what's going to happen when he moves to Ukraine and how that's going to go down.
That's a similar situation to the attempted assassination attempt on Donald Trump earlier last year.
Right, Ryan Ruth in September at the golf course. Yeah. So
he was in contact.
Also was in contact with Ukraine. But in Ruth's case, that was a situation where he had been doing fundraising and advocacy for Ukraine for a while at that point, and I think had even been there. We also saw recently a poll that came out that was 55% of Americans think that it's reasonable to assassinate Donald Trump.
Americans?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
55%.
Wasn't it? Do I have this totally wrong?
I don't think it was Americans.
Democrats.
I think it was Democrats.
That's unbelievable.
Was it Democrats?
I think so.
Let me look up in my.
I don't think Donald Trump's poll number, or his likability has gone down a little bit.
55% of left-leaning Americans say it's somewhat justified to kill Trump.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Yeah. And so what we have is a situation where for years we've had people on the left saying words are violence, which makes them think that self-defense is reasonable. And if words are violence, then violence is violence. And they can just, spout off and hurt people because of that.
So you think that the narrative being spun, or the phrase phrases like words are violence, you think that that's contributing, or do you think that?
I just think it's part of the overall ethos, right? If words are violence, then if you insult me, self-defense.
So I
can, take out some kind of aggression against you because of that.
So I saw a tweet today, and I forget who it was that actually said it, and I apologize. But it started off with the idea that on the left, they believe that violence can be used like a volume knob. You can turn it up and you can turn it down, so you can go from just getting into fistfights and brawls up to actually firebombing Tesla dealerships, to actually murdering people. Whereas with the right, they tend to look at violence as either totally off limits or that's all you're doing. It's a light switch. Do you guys have a sense that you see those kind of do you feel like people have that kind of understanding? Or
I think that just the left is increasingly more violent than the right, even though they try to play that it's the other way around. But even more than that, I think that there's a big problem lately with teens and violence, like across America. Teen violence in general is skyrocketing, and nobody really wants to talk about it. I'm talking from 12, 13, 14 up.
Are you talking about fighting or
no, murders,
Okay.
violence in general. Like you look at this other kid that was doing the Trump thing, this school shooter, it's just over and over again. We see that it's almost like they have no morality. There was a clip of somebody filming this mass shooting, and they filmed the body.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have no sanctity for life? It's almost like that's even more of a problem.
So
in
I
general.
saw the video
People think that. Oh, go ahead.
I saw the video that you're talking about. I didn't have a chance to listen to it. Was there any audio? Were they saying
No,
anything?
she was just taking a sip of her Starbucks, walking casually.
Was she
filming
actually taking a sip?
Yes.
Okay, because
It's-
it looked to
the
me like
Starbucks
Starbucks
disgrace.
cup was in the shot.
Yes, I saw
and
the
she
Starbucks
walks
cup.
past this woman who is either
Yeah.
dying or
Dead.
is very injured.
Yeah.
And she just walks past. And what's interesting is that she filmed it, right? Most of this generation is being exposed to brutal violence daily online. And, not all of this violence that's been happening, the school shootings, have been political. Some of it has come through the true crime community. And what's really interesting about that community is that they really venerate these school shooters
Yeah.
and really sanctify them. It's
So did Audrey Hale.
really creepy.
Like
Same thing
Audrey
with the
Hale.
drill thing,
Audrey
too.
was Tennessee.
Audrey was Tennessee. The Covenant school shooting killed three children and 3 staff members at a school. And when they finally released all of these, notebooks that she had in it, she was really venerating the Columbine shooters. She really thought that they were just the bee's knees.
Yeah. And so apparently women and men are coming to this through 2 different paths. So girls are coming to it through, eating disorder communities.
Really?
Yeah. And then men or young boys are coming to these communities through gore. So
See now, I'm of the
You're talking
generation.
about white kids, but black kids are coming through drill rap and Instagram beefs.
yeah.
So
What's
to your
interesting-
point, hold on. To your point about coming to it through gore. I'm of the generation when Rotten.com was still a thing.
Yeah.
When you could go to Live Leak and there were graphic things and I've seen all the, as a young guy, not as a teenager. Right, because I was a teenager in the early '90s, but when Rotten.com was a thing in the early aughts and stuff, I've seen all the the chainsaws and the Mexican cartel violence and stuff like that. I don't get the sense that my generation had more violence because of that stuff. So do you
but
think
you
that
might have been old enough to be able to process that and recognize it as wrong. But think about these kids that are getting computers at 10 or 11,
So
and that's what they're seeing, and they're exposing themselves to that constantly on a day in day.
But my
day in,
point
day
is,
out.
you can't. The internet's way less of the Wild West than it was back 20 years
But
ago.
it was harder to access too.
Yeah. Now, my
not
point is
really.
nowadays is there. It's my understanding or my impression that the internet is actually more sanitized than it used to be. You can There are. We talk about. There's a lot of murders that have happened that you can't actually find the original videos of anymore. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You mentioned the gore thing.
Yeah.
And in the FBI documents with the Wisconsin teen, this guy, Nikolai Kassup, a classmate told the FBI that Kassup would send gore edit videos that included flashing, gory, and war images put to Russian music via Snapchat. And then he said, that he intended to kill his parents, but he was involved in this gore stuff. But I think that certainly people can be conditioned to accept measures of violence. And that can happen through, a number of different ways. Like this is something that we've seen in war. Like soldiers will be intentionally conditioned to accept violence and extreme horror and things like that. That's definitely true. But for decades and decades now, we've been told that it's either heavy metal music that's causing our kids to go nuts, or it's rap music,
Well, it's not that,
or it's all of these different things. And I think that there's something different going on than just, this experience of seeing horrifying things, or,
listen, it's definitely,
and there's a lack of respect for life.
Yeah.
There's a lack of belief in an everlasting soul. There's a lack of a belief that you have an innate part of yourself that cannot be, that you can protect, that can't be broken. I think that kind of concept is missing, and whether it's the decline of religion or the decline of any care for our neighbors. And then just to what you were saying about the cell phones, I think people use cell phones as a shield, and they think they're protected from it. Like I remember riding the subway when I lived in New York, and I would think, like, if I look at my phone, no one's going to bother me. Well, that's stupid. That doesn't
I think it's
mean
absent
anything.
parenting.
Yeah.
I think
there's that too, but that's not the only thing.
Yeah, but I think it's a bigger concept. Like a lot of these kids are killing each other over like disses, or like, being made fun of, or being insulted, or those type of things. Like
honor culture kind of thing.
It's not honor culture.
Well, that's the kind of thing that you're
but yeah, but
describing.
it's
That's why I'm
like
asking.
emulating.
I'm
what
asking
they
a
see
question. You don't need to
rappers-
roll
Well,
your
because honor
eyes at me,
culture
Philadelphia.
makes it seem like there's something noble about it. There's something noble about this. These people don't earn respect. And what
pride
happens is they
culture.
don't have any self-esteem, they don't have any self-respect, and they don't have anybody to guide them. And so instead of doing something productive with their lives, they take this short way to get this instant gratification. They put it on Instagram for clicks, and that's why I don't think it's about like drill the music. It's just that they diss them in the music. It's about the attention and the need to fill a void and feel special, feel connected to something, because they're not connected to their parents. They're not connected to their neighborhoods. They're not connected to their school. They're totally empty, miserable vessels. And so they're filling it with whatever attention they can, and they ratchet it up. Like, so it would be street fighting, or it would be carjacking. And now it's shooting people who dish you on a song on Instagram. Like it is a literal emptiness that they're filling because they have no self-esteem.
Nihilism ultimately, I mean, it's very empty, but ultimately people just don't end up valuing human life. And Taylor Lorenz was recently on Hannity, I think it was, saying that she doesn't believe in souls. I mean, it's no wonder that she's endorsing Luigi Mangione.
Yeah, so Taylor Lorenz not believing in souls is typical of either an agnostic or an atheist. And Taylor Lorenz is, fine, she can believe what she wants, but everyone knows she's kind of a moron anyway. So I don't know that I'm convinced that it is either music, and the reason I say that is
I don't think it is either.
Because like the things that you're describing in drill rap, where they'll diss each other on Instagram and stuff. Look, you saw
That's the byproduct of what's happening.
You saw that stuff in the early 90s.
No, it's not like this. This is not the same. I swear to God,
how is it not the same
it's
when
not
you
even
you had Dr. Dre and Eazy-E and all those
but
guys?
It wasn't cool for
literally
12-year-olds to go to try to kill their quote ops just because they got dissed on a song. It is slaughter. So I'm talking every other week we have a 13-year-old dying, a 16-year-old dying, a 14-year-old dying in Philly, like every week, and no one is talking about it. And then it's spreading.
What was wasn't the murder rate really high in Southern California back in the 90s?
During like the COVID epidemic in 2022, like they got stimulus checks, and they admitted in tons of these videos, like Brandon Buckingham and all these other people did like videos about what it was like in that culture. And they, with their stimulus checks, they bought guns. They literally bought guns, and the killings ratcheted up by like 50%. And it's still happening. Even I'm going to give Larry Krasner credit here, is that he's really like buckling down on. We just arrested I think it was 9 kids, and they were involved in at least 16 violent homicides. One kid had 5 bodies that just got shot. I'm talking like these are kids slaughtering each other. And it's spreading. It's kind of like this Carmelo Anthony kid. He felt like he got dissed, and the answer was to kill somebody. It is definitely spreading. It's not just in the inner city, and it's spreading from like Instagram and the music, but it's not the music that's driving it. It's the culture that's driving it. Music is like a side product of it, like an externality. It's bad though, and nobody even know. Like I talk to people all the time. Like, how many teenagers died in the last 3 months in Philly? They have no idea.
It's the underlying beliefs about human life.
Right.
And those beliefs come with those communities or certain parts of those communities now. It's not that like the entire community believes that. It's that this is how radicalization works all over the internet. You have a funnel, that gets more and more extreme towards the bottom.
Okay. Well, the reason I asked, so you're talking about predominantly black kids.
Well,
right?
in that situation,
In that
yeah.
situation, but isn't the black community one of the most religious communities? Now, granted,
They're
they
turning Muslim, and it's especially in the inner cities. Like our Muslim population is growing exponentially
Through converts?
big time. We have one of the biggest black convert to Muslim population in all of America. They had a couple of years ago, I think it was 5 years ago or something, they had kids from Philly singing things about like killing infidels and stuff that was like a teen thing. And they're like, sorry, we put it up. It was an accident. We didn't mean to. But like, there's
we put it up. Not sorry we were doing it. Sorry we put it on
like
the
they were
internet.
like, that was an oversight. Like, no, it's an oversight that you got caught. And they're over there like literally singing about killing people and beheading infidels. Like, I'm not kidding. And it is, yeah, they're religious in that way. But these kids, they like, quote, jump off the porch and there's no parent structure. And some of the moms are involved. There was this one mom, she's on Instagram bopping her head like after the kid who shot her son got shot. She was like, oh, bragging. She's like, I'm gonna smoke a doob. I'm gonna do a shot, like to like praise his death. Like the parents, because they're so young and they're also no structure in their life, like they're in on it. It's crazy. And it's spreading, but it is spreading.
Libby, what do you know
Look
of
into
this murderous culture that Lisa's describing?
You have to look into it.
I don't know much about the murderous culture that Lisa
Watch American Confidential.
I got out of cities a couple of years ago.
You were smart. You were smart.
Listen to
A lot
Tim
of
Pool.
attention. I know, and Jack and everybody was.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I can't.
Yeah, no, it's weird. But I lived in a very Muslim neighborhood in Brooklyn, in Bay Ridge, and there were protests almost every weekend, right on my block, against Israel and pro-Palestinian and all that stuff. And that was way before October 2023.
Yep.
And there was a very large Muslim population there. In fact, that is where Linda Sarsour is from, who led the Women's March until she was kicked out for being anti-Semitic. And it's also where the Bin Laden family used to hang out before 9/11. So it's a long-standing Islamic neighborhood. But I haven't looked too much into the contemporary stuff. One of my high school classmates, though, did convert to Islam, which I discovered at a class reunion years later.
They have this thing like where you'll see them like they come out of prison and
she was a
whoever
black girl
has the
from
darkest mark on their head shows their most loyalty to Islam. Like it's a thing.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.